Mexico is known as a country rich in folklore and stories of the supernatural. Its deep history, blending ancient indigenous traditions and colonial influences, has given rise to countless tales of ghosts, spirits, and mysterious happenings. From eerie legends passed down through generations to celebrations like the Day of the Dead, Mexico's culture embraces the mystical and the haunting, making it a place where the past feels alive in its stories and traditions. Number 1. The Island of the Dead Dolls. The Island of the Dead Dolls, Isla de las Muñecas, in Mexico, is one of the creepiest and most haunted places in the world. Hidden in the Xochimilco canals near Mexico City, this island is covered with hundreds of old, broken dolls hanging from trees and buildings. Their faded faces, missing limbs, and lifeless eyes create an eerie, spine-chilling atmosphere. The legend of the island begins with a man named Don Julian Santana. It's said that he found the body of a young girl who drowned near the island. Shortly after, he discovered a doll floating in the water, and, believing it belonged to the girl, he hung it on a tree to honor her spirit. But Julian became convinced that the girl's ghost was haunting him. To appease her spirit, he began collecting and hanging more dolls, creating a haunting shrine. Visitors and locals claim the dolls are possessed by spirits. They say the dolls' eyes follow them, their heads turn, and some even whisper at night. Others have reported hearing mysterious footsteps and the laughter of a little girl. Strangely, Julian himself died in 2001 under mysterious circumstances. His body was found in the same spot where he claimed to have found the girl's body. This deepened the belief that the island is cursed or haunted. Today, the island attracts curious visitors and ghost hunters from around the world. It stands as a chilling reminder of one man's attempt to make peace with the supernatural. Whether you believe the stories or not, the Island of the Dead Dolls is undeniably one of the most haunting places in Mexico. Number 2. The House of Mummies. The House of Mummies in Guanajuato, Mexico, is one of the country's eeriest and most unsettling haunted locations. This museum holds the naturally mummified remains of over 100 people, some of which date back to the 19th century. These bodies were unearthed from nearby cemeteries when families could no longer afford to pay burial taxes. Due to the arid conditions and unique soil composition, the corpses were preserved in a hauntingly lifelike state. Walking through the museum feels like stepping into a scene from a horror movie. The mummies are displayed behind glass, with their skin stretched tight over their skeletal faces, frozen in twisted expressions of fear and agony. Some of the most infamous exhibits include a mother clutching her infant and what is said to be one of the smallest mummies in the world, a fetus. The sight of these mummified remains is chilling, but it's the ghostly tales surrounding the museum that truly haunt visitors. Many believe the museum is cursed and claim to experience paranormal activity while there. Stories include faint whispers, cold spots, and the eerie feeling of being watched. Staff and visitors alike have reported seeing shadowy figures moving among the exhibits at night. Some say they hear faint cries or moans, believed to be the spirits of the mummies trapped between worlds. One chilling legend suggests that the mummies' distorted faces are a sign that they were buried alive, their restless spirits lingering in torment. Locals often tell tales of strange happenings in the area, warning that the souls of the dead are not at peace. The House of Mummies remains a dark and mysterious attraction, drawing those curious about the macabre and the supernatural. It's a place where history and horror collide, leaving visitors with goosebumps and unanswered questions. Number 3. The Guadalajara Cathedral. The Guadalajara Cathedral, an architectural masterpiece in Mexico, is not just a symbol of faith and history, but also a site shrouded in ghostly legends and mysterious tales. Built in the 16th century, this iconic cathedral in the heart of Guadalajara has witnessed countless historical events, tragedies, and moments of devotion, leaving behind a lingering spiritual energy that many believe manifests in paranormal ways. One of the most enduring ghost stories linked to the cathedral is the tale of the crying child. According to legend, the remains of a young girl, known as Santa Inocencia, Saint Innocence, are entombed within the cathedral. Her tragic story tells of a girl who secretly converted to Christianity against her father's wishes. When she took her first communion, her enraged father stabbed her to death. Today, visitors claim to hear soft cries near her glass-encased remains, and some have even reported seeing her eyes blink or her fingers twitch. Another eerie phenomenon involves the phantom bells. Late at night, locals have reported hearing the cathedral's bells tolling, even when the bell tower remains empty and locked. Some attribute this to spirits of the past, ringing out warnings or commemorations. The cathedral is also said to be haunted by shadowy figures that move silently through its vast halls. Visitors and caretakers have reported sudden cold spots, an overwhelming feeling of being watched, or the faint sound of chanting when the church is otherwise empty. Adding to the mystery, there are stories of priests who once served in the cathedral appearing in spectral form, praying or walking the grounds at night. These sightings, combined with the cathedral's ancient ambience, make it a destination not only for worshippers, but also for seekers of the supernatural. Number 4. The House of Claudia Mijangosum. The House of Claudia Mijangos, located in Querétaro, Mexico, is considered one of the most haunted and chilling locations in the country. Known as the House of the Demon, this otherwise ordinary-looking home is shrouded in dark history and tragic events that continue to terrify locals and visitors alike. The haunting began after the horrifying events of April 24, 1989. Claudia Mijangos, a former beauty queen and teacher, committed an unthinkable crime in a state of apparent psychosis. She murdered her 3 young children in the house, claiming she was instructed to do so by demonic voices. Mijangos later said she believed a war between God and the devil was taking place in her mind, and she became an infamous figure in Mexican history. Since then, the house has been abandoned, but remains a focal point for paranormal enthusiasts and locals who share chilling tales. People who pass by the home often report hearing the faint cries of children or the sound of Claudia's hysterical screams echoing from within. Others have claimed to see ghostly figures of the children peering out of the windows or wandering the property, their presence both heart-wrenching and terrifying. Inside the house, investigators and brave explorers have reported intense cold spots, feelings of dread, and even poltergeist activity, such as doors slamming and objects moving on their own. The walls are said to carry an oppressive energy, as if the tragic events of that fateful night are imprinted on the house itself. Locals avoid the property, believing it to be cursed. They say the malevolent energy that overtook Claudia still lingers, making the house a chilling reminder of the horrors that unfolded there. To this day, the House of Claudia Mijangos stands as a dark symbol of tragedy and the supernatural. Number 5. La Posada del Sol. La Posada del Sol in Mexico City is an eerie, abandoned building steeped in mystery and ghostly legends. Once envisioned as a luxurious hotel and cultural hub in the mid-20th century, this sprawling structure was built by the ambitious architect Fernando Saldana Galvan. However, the project was plagued by financial troubles, scandals, and misfortune, ultimately leading to its abandonment. Today, the decaying remains of La Posada del Sol serve as a magnet for urban explorers and paranormal enthusiasts. One of the most chilling tales tied to this location is the story of a young girl whose body was allegedly found within the building's walls. Local lore claims that her spirit never left, and visitors have reported seeing the ghost of a little girl wandering the dark, crumbling halls. Her faint cries and laughter echo through the building, adding to the spine-chilling atmosphere. People often leave toys and offerings at a makeshift shrine said to honor her memory, but many who enter the building still feel an unsettling presence. The building is also rumored to be haunted by other spirits, possibly tied to its troubled history. Some say the architect himself haunts the site, tormented by the failure of his grand vision. Strange occurrences, such as doors slamming, whispering voices, and shadowy figures darting through the corridors, are frequently reported by those who venture inside. Adding to its mystique, La Posada del Sol is often linked to dark rituals. Locals whisper that it became a site for occult practices, which might explain the oppressive energy many feel when visiting. Despite its haunting beauty and architectural significance, La Posada del Sol remains shrouded in mystery and fear, a grim reminder of dreams gone wrong and the restless spirits that linger in their wake. Number 6. The Templo Mayor Museum. The Templo Mayor Museum, located in the heart of Mexico City, stands as a remarkable testament to the grandeur of the Aztec Empire. Built on the ruins of the ancient Templo Mayor, the main temple of Tenochtitlan, the museum showcases countless artifacts from a civilization deeply rooted in spirituality, sacrifice, and mystery. However, the museum is not only known for its historical significance, but also for its reputation as one of the most haunted places in Mexico. The Templo Mayor was the site of numerous rituals and sacrifices, many of which were performed to appease Aztec gods such as Huitzilopochtli and Tlaloc. These rituals often involved human offerings, and it is believed that the intense energy from these sacrifices lingers in the area to this day. Visitors and staff at the museum have reported strange occurrences, particularly in areas where sacrificial altars and artifacts are displayed. One of the most common stories involves the ghostly presence of Aztec priests. Museum workers claim to have seen shadowy figures dressed in traditional robes wandering through the halls or near the ruins at night. These apparitions are often accompanied by the faint sound of chanting or the rhythmic beating of ancient drums, as if the rituals of the past are still being performed. Another chilling tale comes from visitors who report feeling a heavy, oppressive energy near the displays of sacrificial knives and skull racks. Some have even said they feel an invisible force touching them, or hear whispers in Nahuatl, the language of the Aztecs. The nearby ruins are also said to be haunted. People walking around the site at night have reported seeing flickering lights or ghostly figures appearing and disappearing among the stones. The Templo Mayor Museum is a place where history and the supernatural intertwine, making it a hauntingly unforgettable experience. Number 7. Casa de los Tubos. Casa de los Tubos, or the House of Pipes, in Monterrey, Mexico, is one of the country's most infamous haunted locations. This unique cylindrical structure, abandoned for decades, has long been the subject of chilling legends and eerie encounters. Its eerie, incomplete appearance, combined with its dark history, makes it a magnet for thrill-seekers and paranormal enthusiasts. The most well-known story tied to Casa de los Tubos involves a tragic accident during its construction in the 1970s. The house was designed with ramps and wide spaces to accommodate a wheelchair-bound girl, the daughter of its original owner. As the story goes, while exploring the unfinished house, the young girl lost control of her wheelchair on one of the ramps and tragically fell to her death. This devastating event led to the abandonment of the projects, and the building was left to decay. Since then, the house has gained a reputation for being haunted. Visitors and locals often report seeing the ghostly figure of a young girl in the windows or on the ramps. Her cries and laughter are said to echo through the empty structure, sending chills down the spines of those nearby. Another sinister aspect of the legend involves the construction workers who reportedly experienced accidents or strange occurrences during the building process. Some even claim that malevolent spirits drove them away, leading to the house being cursed. Urban explorers brave enough to enter the building have described feelings of dread, unexplained cold spots, and objects moving on their own. Some claim to see shadowy figures lurking in the dark corners or hear footsteps following them. Today, Casa de los Tubos stands as an ominous reminder of the tragic event and the spectral energy that many believe still haunts its walls. Number 8. The Museo Panteón de Belén. The Museo Panteón de Belén, located in Guadalajara, Mexico, is one of the most haunted and legendary places in the country. Originally built in the 19th century as a cemetery, it served as the final resting place for many prominent families, soldiers, and victims of epidemics. Today, it functions as a museum and is renowned for its chilling ghost stories and paranormal activity. One of the most famous legends is the vampire's grave. According to local lore, a man accused of being a vampire was buried here after allegedly attacking livestock and people. To prevent his return, locals drove a wooden stake through his heart and buried him under a heavy slab. Visitors claim to see a shadowy figure near the grave, and some report hearing growls or whispers, believed to be the restless spirit of the vampire. Another eerie tale involves the weeping boy. A young boy buried in the cemetery is said to cry out for his parents at night. His grave, adorned with toys and gifts left by visitors, has become a focal point for paranormal activity. People have reported hearing faint sobbing, and some claim to see the boy's ghost sitting on his tombstone. The cemetery's plague victim section also adds to its haunted reputation. During a cholera outbreak in the 19th century, many were hastily buried here. It's said that their restless spirits haunt the area, with reports of apparitions and disembodied voices common among visitors. Night tours of the Pantheon de Belen often leave attendees shaken, with unexplained cold spots, fleeting shadows, and the feeling of being watched. The Museo Pantheon de Belen is not just a historical site, but a place where the living and the dead seem to coexist, making it a must-visit for those seeking the supernatural. Number 9. Hospital Juarez. Hospital Juarez, located in Mexico City, is one of the most haunted places in the country, steeped in both history and chilling paranormal tales. Established in the 19th century, the hospital has served as a refuge during wars, pandemics, and natural disasters. Over the decades, it has witnessed immense suffering, death, and tragedy, leaving behind an eerie legacy that many believe manifests in supernatural phenomena. One of the most famous ghostly figures at Hospital Juarez is La Plancada, the Ironed Lady. According to legend, she was a nurse named Eulalia who worked at the hospital in the 20th century. Dedicated and kind, she fell in love with a doctor who betrayed her. Heartbroken and humiliated, Eulalia grew bitter and neglected her duties, leading to the deaths of several patients. Overcome with guilt, she died under mysterious circumstances. Today, her ghost is said to roam the hospital corridors, dressed in an old-fashioned, perfectly pressed uniform. Patients and staff report seeing her tending to the sick, offering care to those in need. Strangely, patients who claim to have been visited by her often recover faster, earning her a reputation as both a tragic and benevolent spirit. Other stories include sightings of shadowy figures in abandoned wings, disembodied voices calling out in empty hallways, and sudden cold spots. Security guards have reported hearing footsteps and doors slamming when no one is around. The hospital's morgue is another hot spot for paranormal activity. Workers claim to hear faint whispers and feel the presence of unseen entities.